What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a budget profile for Yubel. That's right, so with Nightmare Thrones now sitting around about £12 per copy here in the UK, and you can get an ultimate rare Phantom of Yubel for about £15 to £20 as well, it's well worth a small investment for this deck if you've been looking to play it. This does not involve the FIENDSMITH engine, it actually involves an engine that might be a little bit more effective for the format in regards to breaking boards. Not so much for the grind game, but it can still really help. So I'm going to take you through the profile, explain what we've got, talk you through what upgrades you can add into it, stuff like Dominus Impulse because you're not playing the FIENDSMITHs, or if you want to move into the FIENDSMITH element, of course that is something you want to be looking forward to. But I thought I'd bring you a version that doesn't involve the FIENDSMITH, take it back to how Yubel was in the past, and if you do need to be on a tighter budget, I'll also talk you through some other alternative options. Stuff like a Polymerization map instead of Nightmare Throne can give you the closest alternative if you don't have access to spend £30 on these, or as we are coming close to Christmas, you just ask Santa Claus for a very nice little bump. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. So we're going to start off with just by showing you off the Nightmare Thrones for the pure fact that this one will lead you into any of your other Yubel monsters. It is absolutely insane. The fact that it can also search you out, your Dark Beckoning Beast, is just crazy, but it does kind of give you a couple of options to work with. We've then got the one Terraforming, and then moving off of the back of this, we are playing the one Yubel and the one Yubel Terra Incarnate. Then for one of your ideal starters, it'll be triple Samsara D Lotus, and then you're backing this up with 2 Spirit of Yubel. Now, because we're not playing the FIENDSMITH, you could very easily play Spirit of Yubel at 3 if you wanted to, and because we no longer have Phantom of Yubel at more than 1, again, recycling it's going to be a little bit more difficult because your focus on recycling your cards will be you need to focus on recycling the Phantom of Yubel from either the Banish Zone or the graveyard first, which you can do through Nightmare Throne, which makes it a lot easier, and then we also do play Mature Chronicle, which helps you get rid of it from the Banish Zone, so that if you are playing against a Kashtira matchup, if they do target your Phantom of Yubel and banish it face down, you still have a way to get it back in order to set you up with that protection, because we all know how good Phantom of Yubel is for Yubel. And then of course we've got double Grey Squirmer. I'm really hoping that this card's going to get a bump as a super rare in the next OTS pack because it thoroughly deserves it. The card's really good. I'll probably even take an ultimate rare, but I think that would just look really cool, like the bandages and everything. I digress. But definitely Grey Squirmer is such a great card for the deck as well, that like each different level of support that Yubel got was great because it took it up a notch, and then Phantom of Yubel just took it up like 2 notches, which was crazy. And then for the other, or like your main normal summon of the deck, triple Dark Beckoning Beast backed up by triple Opening Spirit Gates. Now I am considering going back to playing double Dark Beckoning Beast and one of the other Beckoning Beast, for the pure fact that the way that that worked as a 1-card combo is Dark Beckoning Beast cannot search itself. So what you would do is if you hard open up the Opening Spirit Gates, you'd go Opening Spirit Gates, search out Dark Beckoning Beast, normal summon Dark Beckoning, and then rather than searching out a second copy of Opening Spirit Gates, you would actually just search out the other Beckoning Beast, which meant just on its own, if you didn't open up another Dark Beckoning Beast or you didn't open up another Samsara D Lotus, you could use the Chaos Summoning Beast to just summon itself down. So that's something that I might consider going back to, and it's something that I'm trialing out, but I kind of just wanted to play shiny cards. But the idea is, again, that is an alternative for you. It's probably a better one to go for. What you're trying to look for a little bit more, though, because you're not playing the FIENDSMITH engine, and the whole idea of going for that 1-card combo would be to go, okay, cool, go into go into the Goddess or the Moon Goddess, and then you'd go Goddess into Requiem and then work your way from that point on. Whereas ideally what you can now do, if you're not playing that, is you could still play Goddess if you wanted to, and then you could turn that Goddess, you wouldn't turn it into a Requiem, but you could still play Sequence, and the reason you'd still play Sequence is you can then still play Aerial Eater, which is still a good card for the deck, because that would allow you to put a Yubel in the graveyard, and straight away you can set up your Phantom of Yubel. So it just kind of gives you some other alternatives and other options, because if you've already got Opening Spirit Gates in rotation, you can send a Spirit of Yubel that you need access to, discard a card, bring back the Spirit of Yubel, and then you go into full Yubel combo. So something you might want to consider, and it's something that I'm going to be looking at doing a little bit more going forward. You would just sub out 1 Dark Beckoning Beast for 1 Chaos Summoning Beast. And then the last monster that we play that isn't a hand trap, well, technically is a hand trap, is the Unchanged Soul Shavara. Pretty standard on that. Then, of course, we back that up with the 1 Abominable Chamber. We've got the 1 Call by the Grave. And then the card that I am basically replacing the FIENDSMITH engine for is triple Super Poly. I think this card in this deck is absolutely insane, because more times than not, I don't think I've ever seen a time where this has been activated in a Yubel deck and the opponent or even myself goes, oh yeah, that's still a card that you can still play. Now, it's not just playing the Yubel Fusion Monster, because the Yubel Fusion Monster is crazy and it does give you burn damage, and if you're playing that against Malice, you're just going to like Super Poly their entire board, and then burn them for more damage that they've already burned themselves for. So they're just making it even harder on themselves. But you still do also get to play loads of Super Poly targets, and there are some really cool specific Super Poly targets for the current format, and I'll talk you through them. Actually, talk you through them now. It's probably going to be a little bit easier. So for the Malice lineup, you've got Earth Golem at Agnista, which requires a Cyverse monster and a Link monster. So they're always going to be swarming the board with Cyverse and Links. Very easy to done. And then when you look at the Ryziel FIENDSMITH board, you can go into a Dracus Tapelia because Detonator is a dark, and then of course you've got your Desiree, which is a fusion monster. So you can go those into the Dracus Tapelia. Not to mention, you'll also have your standard kind of fusion targets in the form of the Mud Dragon and Gura for those random matchups. And then, of course, you've got the ultimate fusion Super Poly target in the form of Yubel, the Loving Defender. So that's why you play Super Poly. I think it's a great card for this deck. And it's actually searchable off of Mature Chronicle as well. So we are playing the one Nightmare Pain and then the one Mature Chronicle. If you don't want to play Super Poly, by all means, cut them out. That just becomes more hand traps for you. That's an option for Dominus Impulse. If you want to go down that route, it really is up to you. Now, the hand traps, as a disclaimer, they are going to be in different sleeves because they're currently in my main deck right now. But we will be playing like Triple Draw and Lockbird. You can play any mixture of hand traps you want. It really is up to you. You've got loads of space to do that now. Triple Ash Blossom, Triple Imperm, and then I play 1 Mag, 1 Druids, and then 2 Talents. But these 4 cards could be anything you want. They could be Nibirus, they could be Crossout Detonators if you want them to be, they could be Ghost Mourners, anything you want. It really is up to you. You've got so much flexibility in the hand traps lineup, it's kind of up to you. But that's pretty much it for the main deck. Now I'm going to take you on to the extra deck. I'll also talk you through a demo slide deck, but honestly, I think that changes depending on the environment you're going to and then what you have access to. But I'll show you pretty much the same that I showed in the Dark World build as well. So for the extra deck, we've already pretty much talked about the Super Poly targets, Dracus Tapelia, Earth Golem, Mud Dragon, and Garura, and then of course the Loving Defender, and then of course you are playing the one Phantom of Yubel. Sadly, it is at 1. It was a card that we are highly expecting to get here because of the fact of how good it is, and then it follows off of the OCG as well. What you need to do now is you need to focus more so on recycling it, and the 2 ways that you get to recycle it is of course going to be off of Mature Chronicle when it gets banished, and then off of the Nightmare Throne. Now, you can very easily set up the Mature Chronicle a little bit more, but this is mainly in here when this gets banished off of a Cashtira Unicorn, because that's kind of the one way that Throne can't help you out. But even then, Throne gives you this ability. Now, it does kind of slow the combo down, but at the end of the day, you're trying to recycle your Phantom of Yubel. So if your combo opens up well enough that you don't need to use Throne to continue to extend your combo, you always make sure you use it to recycle the Phantom. Even more so if your opponent has attempted to nib you and you have had to use Phantom early, you do need to focus on making sure you recycle that, because then you make a second Phantom and you can use that Phantom during your opponent's turn because you've recycled it. So very, very important. And the way that you can do that is get the right text on this one. If a face-up Yubel monster or monsters you control leaves the field by card effect, you get to add to your hand 1 Yubel monster from your deck, graveyard, or banishment whose original level is 1 higher or lower than one of those monsters. So obviously, if any of your 10s, which is Yubel or Spirit, get destroyed, you get to add the Phantom back, which is really important. It can't add back from face down banished because it specifically designates a Yubel card and you can't identify a face down card. Whereas the difference on the Mature Chronicle is it actually says add one of your banished cards to your hand. So it lets you add any of your face down banish, which is why the Mature Chronicle can loop you out. It also sets you out Super Poly. It can also revive as your extender as well. So it kind of substitutes itself for the extension of the Throne. And it's one of the ones that if you open up Pain, you've got Mature Chronicle to follow back on. I really do like it. For the XYZs, I'm playing the 1 Varudras, pretty standard, and the 1 Typhon. And then for the Link monsters, again, you've got a bit of flexibility on this depending on how you want to do it. But I've got the 1 Muckraker. I still like the idea of the Nightmare Griffin lock because you can actually do this very easily in the deck where you make Nightmare Griffin below the Muckraker, or you use Nightmare Griffin as link fodder for the Muckraker, and the Muckraker brings back the Griffin. And the reason it's so good to have Griffin on the board is, yes, okay, Malice can play around it a little bit more. They'd have to go like normal summon Dormouse, not use the effect, turn it into Link Garibo, and then have a way to banish the Dormouse to bring it back to then try and use effects from that point on. But in a Ryziel matchup, they have to go through their FIENDSMITH element first in order to get out the Nightmare Griffin, or they've hard opened up a negation for it, which is absolutely fine because as long as you have a monster point into a Link monster, you'll be able to use your effects, so Phantom of Yubel or of Varudras. It does kind of slow you down a little bit as well because more times than not when you're making this, you're only going to have like 1 or 2 zones opened up to do it. But you want to make sure that you place everything very, very specifically and very, very cautiously. But the idea is that this against a Ryziel matchup can be very, very helpful for you. SP Little Knight, pretty standard, come off the back of your Unchanged Soul of Rage. And then we've got Anguish, that if we go second, obviously you use this to go into SP Little Knight instead. And then 2 Yamas. So pretty standard on that particular lineup. I think playing the Unchained is a no-brainer in this deck. It's like insanely good. It's basically their own in archetypal IP Masquerena. If you don't want to play Unchained, of course you'd go with the IP Masquerena route, but Yama's just so good in this deck. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the entire deck and the extra deck. Now for the side deck. So the side deck really comes down to the local environment, but I'm just going to show you cards that help you out in specific matchups. So I personally quite like evenly matched. That's just a personal preference on that one, so you can change that up as you need to. You always need to have some form of back row hate. So I've got like a board clear, back row hate. You can consider stuff like Forbidden Droplet as well. Could be very helpful for you, or even Dark Rule and no more. But Forbidden Droplet might be a little bit more effective for you, depending if you've got the cards to send. If not, Dark Ruler can still put in some work because you can clear your opponent's board off, and then they have to still attack into you. Book of Eclipse for the Arysiel matchup, and then Lancia for the Malice matchup. Like both of these cards, I wouldn't say they're auto wins. The Floodgate-esque effect of the Lancia is going to be more damaging to the to a Malice matchup in comparison to a Book of Eclipse. But Book of Eclipse still flips all of their Rysiels face down, so either they can't conduct their XYZ summon because you've put all their monsters face down, or if you're going second and you flip them all face down, they then can't be able to use their protection effect, the destruction effect, and everything else in between. And the last kind of card that I'd highly advise you all to consider would be something like Dimensional Barrier. Of course, if you do have access to the Mole Chummies or anything like that, then of course you go for those. But again, trying to keep everything on a tidy budget, these cards are not going to break the bank for you. And you're able to put all of these at free. That's your full 15 card side deck. And then you already have targets for everything. D-Barrier, Rysiel. Book of Eclipse, Rysiel, but can also hurt other decks as well, so can D-Barrier. Lancia specifically for Malice, so if you don't think you're going to face any Malice whatsoever, take it out, don't worry about it. Cosmic Cyclone evenly matched. Funnily enough, this can actually be a little bit annoying in a Yubel matchup, but then it's also quite counterproductive for a Yubel matchup as well, so you're getting the best of both. Yeah, and then it's entirely up to you. If you want to play Crossout Designator, you can do it. If you want to play other hand traps, you can do it. If you want to play other board breakers like Dark Holes, Raigekis, like I mentioned before as well, you've got Harpy's Feather Duster, but that just kind of falls under the whole have a back row out option in your deck. If you don't have a back row out option in your main deck or side deck, then you need to rethink that because it is so important. Like the one thing you don't want to be doing is your opponent flips that one Saki skill drain, or that one, well not skill drain in this deck, technically you could play it, but that one Saki Floodgate, and then you're like, yeah, I don't have a single out in my entire deck to that, GG. So you need to make sure you have that option as well. Anyway, that is it for the entire profile. If you do have any questions, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. I've tried to keep budget in mind. Like I said at the start of the video, if you need to make it even more budget, adapt it to your personal options. The best kind of substitute options for the most expensive card that I can think of in the main deck would be Nightmare Throne to Polymerization map. And then for the extra deck, nothing here should be majorly expensive in comparison. I know Nightmare Griffin's gone up, but you can pick this up as a rare. Everyone should now have access to an SP Little Knight. Some of the fusion targets should be absolutely easy to pick up to as well. And then Phantom of Yubel is probably the most expensive card. And that's the one, if you're playing Yubel, that's the one extra deck card I would focus on more than the rest. Yes, you can work your way into Unchained, you can work your way into the others, but this is an absolute must in my opinion because it is just such a good card for the deck and it's really what makes it tick. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.